Good morning. How's it going? Who do we have in here? Excuse my dog. What's up, Shad? Giving everybody some time to hop in here before I just get started. Guess everybody's sleeping after going out and partying last night or something. All right, we're getting a few people in here. Slowly, but yeah, I don't started to see a drop in attendance on Saturdays, I guess. So what I was talking about on Facebook is basically the fact that the DXY has finally broke above a long-term trend of what it's been trading in since COVID occurred. And I've been paying close attention to it here over the past week and how the markets are reacting to it. So, it's not the only indicator that I am using, but it is a significant indicator that is making a very large difference in what's going on. Now, we've been looking for some time now for this. When's this market correction coming in? So on and so forth. And I think we're at that point, honestly. Just based off of multiple things. Let's look at the TLT. Pull that light down a little bit. There we go. So I can actually see what I'm doing. For instance, for the most part, since COVID, TLT, when the TLT goes up, you can expect the markets to come down, basically. That was the DXY on TradingView, basically. On the weekly, that is. Who else we got in here with us? If you don't mind, let me know in the chat. Also, if you guys would you share it on Facebook and Twitter or wherever you are, Discord? Good morning, Justin. How are you doing? My troopers. But this is the DXY on the weekly, basically, though. Okay, cool. There's other things that play a factor. There's the US 10-year. I haven't looked at this going back into March, and I'm kind of interested to see, for the most part, what it's done as far as performance goes. Let's see. We have... For the most part, it's been in this upward trend since May, after hitting its lows around 55%, and we're seeing this large influx in it, and that started beginning of February, which is where we saw U.S. tech stocks really take a nosedive from the beginning of February to now. For the most part, that's the growth trend within the channel, so it's almost expected to break out of that. I want to see how it reacts when we get to these levels, which is near the 2%, and where the Fed actually has a commitment of staying around or below that. So we're watching this as well. TLT, I want to go back to it because I was analyzing it a minute ago. For the most part, has been on a strong downtrend. Typically, this has a downtrend when the SPY goes up. It's just how they correlate. And what I'm looking for here is divergences outside of their current trend. So let me see. Where's my clone tool? Oh, there it is. I wasn't clicking the right thing. So you're looking at something to this degree, which we're on the bottom of. We've hit I guess you could say, a support level for it, for the most part. Respected the channel that it's in and that support. So I expect this to rebound back up. If you put the DXY against the SPY, you will see that they pretty much go in the opposite direction of each other, for the most part. And that's on the weekly. I can look this in on the daily. You can see the dips in the DXY allows for the spikes in the SPY. The most recent dips allowed it to hit this all-time high here. Why isn't it not letting me do what I want to do? There we go. And we're about to retest that going into the week. You guys know when the SPY hits the all-time high, I typically short it. And I expect to do that this week. That being said, that's only if we even hit those levels, for that matter. And that's all a matter of what happens with the DXY and the TLT The European markets and other countries are going to weigh down on the U.S. markets. That's something we'll also be keeping track of. You guys already know that we have our daily trading log that we keep track of every morning in and out of the day. And for the most part, it's pretty much showing the futures ending pretty green. Everybody saw the last run at the end of the day. Some people were able to capitalize actually on that and recover from some of our trades from earlier in the week. For the most part of this week, it was kind of confusing why the markets were busting through support levels, support level after support level. And at first I wasn't understanding it. And then I thought about it, well, what's the dollar doing? And so that's when I started looking at the dollar. I really looked into it a lot more yesterday. And there's something significant about it that could potentially help us make a boatload of money, basically. So I had a set of option contracts. I can't remember the exact number. I think I had 4 on the SPY, 2 on the QQQ, 2 or 3 on the QQQ, and 1 on the IWM. Steve, what's up? So I'm gonna show something to you. I'm gonna get rid of the SPY real quick. I bought my puts earlier in the day. Yesterday, it was about 9:30. And right here, I'm gonna show you something. Right in that dip, if you look, we were sitting around, I think it was like 92.69. We were down heavy. But as soon as it dipped up about 13 cents on the dollar, all those contracts I had, I captured about $757 off of, just in the slightest move in the dollar yesterday. I think some of the futures actually dropped. I can't remember. Let's look. Let's look at the QQQ. And what I'll do is I'll compare the dollar against these. We should have been shorting VIAC for the past week too. Yeah. I think pretty much any stock that you want to hold long term, you can pretty much start shorting it. It's my expectation. And whatever profits you make off of those puts, you can put back into those stocks. I'm honestly not holding anything right now long term, not even RMO, because I feel like I'm about to be able to buy it under $10 basically, due to what's about to happen specifically with the QQQ, the NASDAQ, and for the most part, I believe they're on the New York Stock Exchange. But even though they're not on the NASDAQ, what it means is Tesla's going to come down. Some of your big EVs are going to come down. RMO is going to follow that trend. And so with that being said, we should be able to buy a lot of the stocks that we want to hold long term that are great companies, by the way. I'm not discounting the value of the companies, but we should be able to buy them much cheaper. VIAC. Let's look at it. This week. Jeez. I wonder what happened. I need to go look to see what happened. It dropped. Yeah, you're right. Dropped 50%, which was about a $48 spread. Yeah. So 48 times 5 is 0 for 200. We would have made $2,400 off one contract on VIAC. I'm not sure. I saw that TOS was actually doing an update, but I want to look up the news on what happened with them while we were sitting here for a second. See what's going on. Let's see. They did a. It looks like all this started on the 23rd. Let's see what happened back then. Let's turn this light down. People wondering why I'm always looking mad. I'm trying to get some light in here, but it's blowing in my eyes. Can't see anything. So it looks like actually on the 23rd. Oh, they did $3 billion worth of offerings. $2 billion in your standard offering, Class B common stock, and then $1 billion in a series of Series A mandatory convertible preferred stock. Looks like that's what kind of sent it on its downturn. It basically it was liquidated with more shares on the stock, so on the market, and that ultimately sent it in this downtrend. And typically, people start freaking out and selling out of it. So you typically don't see overreactions like that to that degree, but that's just nuts. It's probably where they offered the stock offering price too, uh, at what levels they were offering it. Stock at $100 a share. Okay, I'll read more into that to see why and what, or unless you want to, feel free. Um, yeah, that's nuts. We would have made a quick 24 off of that. And then I actually have a scanner that I haven't been using. I'll show you what it would have identified. This right here, that retracement level, we could have at least got in right there. So it sounds like I need to turn that scanner back on for us so we can start identifying these levels when this occurs, and then go into the momentum and see if we're going to continue pulling down. And we might catch some of these. Our main focus for the most part was looking at stocks that are up 100%, so on and so forth. And, at least shorten them 50% from the breakout, which you can catch large price ranges on some of these stocks that are doing that, especially those pump and dumps, but you got to find the ones that are optionable in order to do that. So my scanner that I have set up is basically focused on that stocks that are optionable, seeing 100% gains within a day. And I expect them to retrace back on 50 on the Fibonacci retracement analysis. They could even go to the 61%. So if you have a stock that jumps $10, you can expect like a $5 pullback, which is about $250 for in-the-money option contracts on the way down, 50 plus for that matter. And you can make $250 real quick, just like that, boom, off of that simple move. And some of the time it's intraday, so you don't even have to consider the theta burn. You also have to account for the delta as it increases, as it continues to drop a dollar and drop a dollar. That delta increases, so you make $50 first dollar, 56 maybe, 58 maybe on the second dollar, 64 on the next, and so it starts to compound. But the real winners on that type of move are these true pump and dumps, where there's no company news. They just blow up because somebody does some tweet on it, or it's in some Reddit community, and that's what they're pumping today. And you can expect those to run and drop back where they started for the most part. Sometimes lower, too, in a lot of cases, from what I've seen in a lot of pump and dumps. But looking at VIAC, for instance, as soon as it touched that 180 on the 30-minute, it just looks like it just fell out from there. And it has a gap back up, too, now that you can expect to fill, that you could potentially buy some calls here, too, as well. To recapture the gains that were missed on the way down. Of course, you got to make sure you're finding your bottom, which looks about $48, give or take. And then you got to also keep track of where the stock offerings are itself. You got to, as soon as you see news on this company that they have closed the stock offerings and that they've been completed, then you can expect this to head back up. But a lot of analysts are looking bearish on it. This was in my what I would assume was done here is the fact that basically they were trying to capture some liquidity real quick. They probably needed it, and that's typically what stock offerings are about. So you can expect now for the company to have about $3 billion in additional assets to tap into and do what they need to do. I haven't done my DD on Viacom, Justin, so we can definitely look at it a little bit more together on the side, and see what some expectations are on it. How are you doing? Dolui, I think, DOLUI 2003. How are you doing? Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Just like HPR did on Thursday, is there a way to make money on that one still? They filed bankruptcy, and Bonanza Energy bought them out. Let's look at it. All
Did
right.
you hear what I said?
Let's look at it on the 1 hour. So let's go back a little bit. Didn't Viacom sue Apple? Viacom is the stickers on cell phones. So in this scenario, I would want to look at the news real quick. Let me look real quick, get an update just on what I'm seeing. I see we have a few people in here. I see we have Steve, Shad, Justin. Excuse me if I'm not saying this right. DeLuey, I'm guessing, is how you say that. If you have another name to call you by, that'd be great to let me know. But whoever else is in here, just give us a quick shout out if you would. Let me know who's here. Let's see. So this started to drop out on the 3rd of March. I'm going to go back that far real quick. Just kind of get a quick catch up on what's going on. Bonanza Creek Energy and High Point Resources announces final results on exchange on the 12th. Not seeing anything on the bankruptcy though in the news. Ruby. Okay. Roby? Is that right? Oh, wait. This looks like it even goes further back. So did they... I'm guessing they filed bankruptcy probably into February, maybe. It's never going to happen in April 1st. What is never going to happen in April 1st? Mergers. The merger is going to happen on April 1st. Okay. Gotcha. Cool. Thank you for that insight. I'm looking to see what caused it to spike. Right there, if you go back on the 1 hour, there was this large spike in here on the 24th of March, and that's what I'm going back in the news real quick for to see what the cause, the catalyst behind that was. Not seeing any company specific news to justify the price. They commented on the trading activity. So I guess this, from what they're saying, it led back to the merger with Bonanza Creek Energy. I mean, so if they filed bankruptcy and then they got bought out, like, then that kind of, gets rid of the whole concern about the bankruptcy. For the most part, what I would look for is if whether or not Bonanza is a publicly traded company, because I didn't see. Okay, so they are BCEI. I would want to see how they're performing, and for the most part, they're doing pretty well. So if they're buying them out and they're merging, I would pay attention to BCEI versus HPR moving forward. That depends on if they're keeping the stocks under the ticker HPR or if they're basically literally acquiring everything into BCEI. Something like what's going on with Tilray and Afria. Afria is going to be consumed into Tilray. Sometimes you'll have these buyouts and they'll keep the other companies separate. That way they have separate market shares. Good morning, Rich. How are you doing? Thank you for joining us. My troopers. But sometimes they'll keep the other business going. So that's definitely something we can look into. If the merger is happening April 1st, I would expect people to buy into the expectation. They're going to sell once it's announced. So you could actually see this drop back down to potentially the 30s or so. Because it's running off news. They are, and they are going to buy all the... Okay, gotcha. So you might see this kind of bounce up a little bit, and then once the news hits, it's going to drop down a little. People are going to take the profits that they're holding on. They've been waiting to sell. So probably might break above 40.57. Might tap that level and then drop on the news. Hungover, but I'm here. I got you. I was just saying that. It's probably taking everybody a while to get in here because of last night. About last night. But anyways, um, so I'd be interested to watch those levels and see what happens around there. Um, and then how it breaks down on the news. Once the news is released, watch how it reacts, and then potentially look at your entry. And at work. Oh man, that has to suck, Steve. The combination. um, anyways, so, but for the most part, are there any other stocks that anyone is holding that you want to look at? I want to move the focus back to um, you all and the stocks that you're looking to hold, and then I'll give you my opinion on what I think you should consider and what you shouldn't. Leftover Chinese food for lunch today. I haven't had Chinese food since the pandemic started, and I miss it. We just had crawfish the other day. Oh my gosh, it was so delicious. Need some more. But yeah, are there any stocks you guys want to look at? Potential investments in before I get into now that we've kind of picked up and people are here, I want to share my thesis with you all. ENSV and RMO. Love that RMO, man. I'm an RMO trooper, I'll tell you that much. But currently not holding anything on it. I got leftover Chinese for lunch too. Y'all come share. I haven't had Chinese in a minute. Currently not, to your point, Roby. I currently don't have any position in RMO right now because I'm waiting for it to become lower back down into that buy zone that's between, I think, like the 940 and the 1140. But I actually think RMO is about to come down a little bit further. And I'll get into that a little bit more if y'all stick around. Want to look at the stocks you want to look at first. I'll add them to our watch list so we can keep monitoring them week after week like we used to before we started the small account challenge and stuff like that. As far as this goes, let's go ahead and do some tech analysis on it real quick. Also, with everybody here, if you would, just to show your support, can you just please share the live stream and like the video? That's all I ask in return. All right, so let's look at her. We have some resistance here that I would pay attention to around the 301. I'm pretty sure it's going to fill this gap. That's a heavy gap. Looks like it happened within a week, not over the weekend. It's typically when you see stuff like that. So I'll watch to see if it ever rebounds to the 244s and how it reacts to those levels, because it was previously resistance for the most part. Even more so the 2969, but the 244, we need to fill that gap there. It looks like before that occurs, though, for the most part, we're going to run into some issues around the 210. We're finding support all the way on the 172s, give or take. I want to see how these price levels, how the stock has reacted to those price levels previously. For the most part, they've respected those levels very well. I want to see how that 301 has played a part before. It's been pretty strong. It hasn't really been able, it's broken out above it, and I'm not going to discount that, but it hasn't confirmed staying above it is the issue that I'm trying to point out here. And that's what you want to see, confirmations above these levels. And as you can see, I mean, we broke down below the support here, and for the most part, it was rejected on falling any further, and found itself back above those in a gap up. And it has since been trading above that. So, let me see. Did you say you were holding it? You're holding it. What's your price average, if you don't mind me asking? But overall, you need to find support above 210. If you're holding it in this buy zone, is what I would call it. Right around, buy zone being right around the 172 to 190. I wish I could fill this in. I think there's a way to do it. I'm just not going to stop to try to figure out now. If you're buying into it around this buy zone, once it gets above 210, let it run. But watch out finding resistance there, as it might do so. It seems like for the most part of March it has had issues staying above those levels. But I think once it retests them again, which will almost be like a triple top if you account for this as one time account for that as another. And then the third might give it the momentum to kick it above it. Let me bring in my momentum indicators. Kind of concerning the fact that it's riding below the EMAs. I don't typically like that myself, and I typically don't get into stocks where I see that myself. I'm not saying that you have a bad stock here. I haven't done any DD on this, by the way, so don't hang me for not considering this being a $40, $50 stock like some people do in the comments. 202, so not bad. You're down about what is that? 18 cents right now. You have an opportunity to potentially average down, but you would want to average down around the 172s if it ever does dip that far. That'll give you a 30-cent spread, so it'll bring you down about 15 cents, which would put you under the 190, which is within this buy zone here. I'm not saying to average down. I'm just saying if you are going to consider it, look at the 172s first. See if you can hit around those levels. So you would at least need a 12-cent average down. So 24 cents lower than where you're at would be 180, 178, roughly. Anyways, moving forward, as long as the stock gets back above the 211, which, like I said, it's had issues doing since March, and it looks like that's right where the 180 sits on the 1 hour. It's always going to come back to the 180 at some point, but when it does, is it going to keep support above here? If it does, then you can comfortably let this go, and then it'll potentially start trading in this price range to retest the 244s, which if you were to play it from where you're at, that's about 44 cents, so somewhere near 25, 20% swing trade for you, unless you average down, and then that increases to about 25-30% on the swing. But watch out for reactions on those levels as well. What else did you have? RMO. That's something we've all been watching together. Like I said, we were doing a test run on the warrants for RMO. I've been a large advocate for RMO ever since they were at $18, actually. And I've still been harping on them since then. For the most part, we're in that buy zone again, like I said, from the 960 to the 1190. I'm sorry. And that actually can be deepened a little bit lower till about the 1111s, but it's been finding support from there. I don't know. I see it coming down more because if you look at things like Tesla, which is a market leader in the EV space, it's having some heavy issues and strong EMA rejections on the 1 hour for the most part, whether it's the 13 or the 35. It's bouncing off that 607.80 level, which I identified all the way back here. Once it broke down from there, we went all the way down to like 540 or something at its lowest, 550s. But it hasn't really performed very well, in my opinion, for the most part. And so it's going to continue weighing down. As long as it continues coming down, you're going to see all your EVs, FCell, NEO, NKLA, RMO, GTEC. GTEC's one of the only ones, April 1st or March 30th earnings on RMO. And one of two things is, I think it's a hidden gem, so I'm not sure how many people have really paid attention to it, outside of the fact that I get like 800 views on a video every time I do an RMO review. I'm pretty sure there's a good bit of people watching it. So leading into earnings, you might see a sell-off, which might push it lower into that buy zone, even deeper for us, only providing you with another opportunity to buy it cheaper than where you probably got into it originally, and holding this. I see RMO as a $40 to $50 stock in 5 years, 2025. They also have, they're buying out RMG. Last I did my DD. Now, I saw something else where they already merged with them on December 30th, so I haven't confirmed whether they were announcing the merger on December 30th, but from what I read directly from their investment relations is that they were completing the merger March 30th as well. So a lot going on here. Just a great company overall. So seeing it back at like price points of $24 and stuff like that by end of the year is something I'm comfortable with saying. Um, Considering Tesla, there's a lot of expectation and speculation rather stating that Tesla is going to be like $4,000 in the next 4 or 5 years. If that's the case, then you can expect all the EVs to be up 4x, 5x, 6x, which leads back into the whole thought process of RMO alone being a $40 to $50 stock itself, based off of that, and then based off of its own growth. So if you can pile those, you kind of get like a comfort level of like potentially $60, $70 a share. And then they're only tapping into the American and U.S. markets right now. I mean the European markets and the U.S. markets right now. But they are only tapping into 1/3 of the actual global industry that they serve. So there's a lot more for them to accommodate along the way, which will only push up those price targets to potentially like $90, $100, things of that nature, and holding those levels at the same time. Great company. But we have LTNC, penny stock. But CNBC talked about it and said it's going to take off. Man, you could have told me it was a penny stock and I would have been okay with it. But when you said CNBC was talking about it, I don't like CNBC, personally. But yeah, I mean, it's broken a support level about around the 4 cent levels. It's only up about 0.6 of a penny. Make sure you keep support. It looks like you're getting confirmation already of support on the 1 hour. Let me look at the lower time frames real quick. See how I'll play this. Yeah, rounding off pretty well. Okay. Let's look at the daily. Oof. Thing just took off, didn't it? So even more so around the 42.2. I'm saying 42.2, but 4 cents. I'm gonna say 4.22. Okay. I don't know where you got into this shed, but it's too high for my comfort level. Now I'm not sure. This is going all tech analysis. I could be missing a lot on the fundamentals. I could be missing a lot on the DD that I haven't done yet. So just watch those 42.2 levels, or those 4 cents 22 levels, however you want to call it. As far as where it could go, I would look back. From what I'm seeing right here, the reason that it's traded at like 25 cents most likely is because they had a lot of liquidity. I've never bought into LTNC. Looks like they're selling hydrogen water now, along with everything else they do. Okay, so at least you're starting to do your research on it. A lot of people have the misconception. I remember back in the COVID, when COVID first hit, a lot of people would look at stocks and be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm looking at a $1 stock that used to be like $40, $50 or $100." Well, I've even done that before in my own ignorance before, but you don't consider the amount of times a company does stock offerings, increasing their float. If it's on CNBC, it's too late. I agree. And misleading altogether. But anyways, so the fact that it's been up to like close to $1, 80 cents at its peak, it looks like about 80 cents, 81, 82, really doesn't move me at all. I would go back all the way to 2013 and see how many stock offerings they did compared to their market cap. And what I would actually watch is the growth in their market cap, not the growth in their stock price. That's what matters. Fundamentally, in penny stocks, I think it's the best thing to pay attention to. The fundamentals. How's the company performing fundamentally? The issue with that is most of these stocks are over-the-counter stocks, OTCs, which means they're not listed on any of the exchanges necessarily. They're I think the CBOE provides OTC stocks for stocks not listed, which are your like pink slips. So you don't really get a lot of fundamental information off of them. You can access that same information directly from the company though. And with things that I'm looking at as far as like penny stocks and stuff, it takes a lot of DD in order to build a lot of confidence, because you got to go all the way back. 6 point, yeah, It's probably why. What's their market cap, Justin? I'm not looking right now. I could look, but let me look over here. What is this? LTNC market cap. They only have a $351 million market cap, but they have $6 billion, 6 billion shares afloat. For what I'm looking at, it's just a quick look. Market cap, 370.78 million. It's not telling me what I want to see. Let me go to TDA. I always rely on my TDA. Nothing else. I don't even know why TDA has security questions when they never secure the browser you're looking at. Anyways, LTNC. Let's see. 7.9 billion from what TD Ameritrade's telling me, with a $372 million market cap. So what that tells me is that explains why I went from 85 cents a share to now sub pennies, almost around 4 cents. They have a lot of work to do. It looks like Labor Smart takes over industry. Industry signs MOU to form joint venture with H2 for Life. Completes acquisition of Takeover Industries. To accept Bitcoin and Ethereum as payment. That's nice. This is all in February that we're looking at now. I'm just going through the news. Give me a second. Okay. Now, just because they're doing acquisitions, I would look at the companies that they're taking over as well, and how well those companies are doing, and what it's bringing to the portfolio. Things to consider in that matter. Let me look at the fundamentals, if they even have anything. Do they? No. Doesn't look like they really offer too much. Total revenue was, it stopped in 2014 when they were reporting, so I don't like that. I don't know. I really have to dig into this a lot more. But there's a company I want to point out myself. And some of you guys got to watch this, or we talked about this. GRNQ, Green Pro Cap Corp. And I think it's a marijuana company for the most part after doing my DD. But I think I had 1 million shares of this back in March. I was going on a vacation to Hot Springs in Arkansas with my family. And somebody told me about this stock. And at that time, we had a very large account we were managing at that point. And I bought 1 million shares of this at like 30 cents or something like that a share. And the reason I did that is because this is why I'm here learning. Thank you, Timmy. Yeah, of course. The reason I did that is because they currently had 9 acquisitions on hold. And with COVID hitting, it extended the amount of time it was going to take to complete the acquisitions. And of course, life happens, and we ended up pulling out of it. It wasn't really moving. It was like moving 23 cents to 32 cents, and we'd make a quick flip, but it wasn't worth at that time holding, because I started to see some of the acquisitions basically fall off the list. I think they lost 2 of them in the process of me waiting. But now this thing is worth, I think at its peak was 420, 415. So essentially, doing the math, 3 million shares times 3, 30 cents. I can't do it on the top of my head because it's so massive. It could have been 100,000 shares. I might be wrong. So I think it was 100,000 shares. Yeah, we put like 33 grand on it. That sounds about right. Because anything above that was $330,000. So that's right. All right. So if it jumped $1, that would have been $99,000 we would have made back. And since then, it has jumped 4 times that, we would have made $396,000 off that trade. So the reason I'm saying this is not to tout or anything, but the fact that these penny companies can actually make you some good money if you have the will to wait long enough. Now, of course, they have to meet certain performance metrics and stuff like that to build my confidence in holding them, but definitely something to watch for. Any more stocks you guys want to look at? I'm going down the chat real quick to make sure I didn't miss anything. It doesn't look like I did. If you have anything, go ahead and fill in the chat. But there's something I've been seeing that I want to talk about. If you guys don't have any more stocks you want to talk about, and there's a few people in here, if you can just let me know who's still here and who isn't, that'd be great. And as always, I simply ask that you like the video and share it on Facebook or Discord or wherever you feel comfortable doing so, or allowed to do so for that matter. But there's something that we've been doing here at Millennial Investments that I want to share with you guys. And it's a small account challenge that we've been doing as a group. And how we started that was, what about why? Okay. Well, before I get into that, let's look at what you want to look at. That's what it's about. I like Watt. Been watching Watt for some time, since I think like August, September, and I've traded Watt a few times, swing trade and day trades. Let's look at it real quick. I haven't looked at it in a while. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? Growing together. I see y'all in the chat. Let's look at the 4 hour. See what jumps out at me. Let me get rid of my indicators. Reset the chart. There we go. All right. So something that I'm paying attention to is that resistance level right there. Just about 393 minus 467. 467 minus 393 divided by 393 is potential for 18 to 20% swing on it. Yeah, Watt. Yeah, I haven't done too much DD on them. I was just swing trading them based off momentum. I'm a momentum trader, okay? So I do swing trades based on momentum. I do option trades on the markets and on stocks that I want to hold long term, in case you're not aware, based off momentum. I use options on stocks that I want to hold long term and build a long term portfolio out of them. There's a reason I'm going to get to here in a minute of why I don't currently have a long term portfolio. But anyways, moving forward right now. Moving forward though, is there's some support right there on the 329. We're currently sitting in a price range between 329 and 467, about midway. So this could go either way. I'll pull in my momentum indicators here in a minute, and you can kind of identify that a little bit better based off those indicators. For the most part, I'm seeing a growth trend right here that it seems to have respected for the most part, even up until yesterday. So basically, watch that moving forward. For the most part, I think we're going to rebound and retest those 467s. And then you'll have resistance here. And then that's what we'll call our long-term resistance. Or top range resistance, or top level resistance, excuse me, is what I call it. And then this is our mid-level that I would watch around the 548s. And then this is your current resistance, so I'm going to turn it yellow. And then your support, of course, and then you have more support that I would expect to find somewhere around here, which almost develops a buy zone, right? There's something I'm going to get at when I say buy zones. Keep in mind of those numbers if you write them down or something. I could also share these charts to you if you want to keep them. Or we can always come back to them in our coffee and stock sessions. I want to turn that blue. Matter of fact, I'll turn it green because I'm identifying that as a potential buy zone for you if this breaks down. All right, anyways. I want to see this. If I were to buy into this right now, I would hold it until we retest the 467s. These are consistent plays in how I set up my swing trades. I would buy it and see how it would react to that 467. I know that if we hit 467, I've already made about 18%, which falls into my 10 to 20% margin that I go after on every single trade that I make. With a 5 to 10% sell threshold. 5% suggested stop loss, 10% sell threshold, meaning I'm most definitely selling it if it goes below 10%. Because my profit margin targets are 10 to 20% on the upside. So if I do that, it's a consistent compounding growth strategy that I have. Anyways, looking at this, retesting the 467, I'd see how we would react and be ready to get out of it if it were to fall. I've been watching. All right, we'll look at that next. But if it were to break through on a potential double top, triple top, almost honestly, and almost forming a head and shoulders right there. If you're looking right here, and then the head, and then potential shoulders here, so it could break back down. But sometimes it'll shoot back up on the right shoulder formation before it even forms. So something to watch for. Not saying it's going up or down right now, but I'm gonna pull in my momentum in a second. But I'd wait for it to get above that current level of resistance and then let it churn, let it churn. If it ever broke down, I'd put a stop loss at that current resistance and know that I'm still capturing 18% on the trade. So comfortable with that. Put a stop loss there and let it do its thing. If it breaks 548 or hits it, then you're looking at a potential extra dollar. So looking at that, 548 minus 393 divided by 393, you're in the area of 39% on the trade, which is almost double what you were going after to begin with. And you could scalp about 20 to 25% off the trade and let it keep running. If it comes back down, you could put that 25 to 20% or 20 to 25% back into the trade. But if it's coming down before you do that, make sure you still have a full stop loss at 467 if it breaks that support level. That way you can go ahead and capture the original 18% on your gains that you had originally. Let the stock come down, and then potentially either hit the growth level, this growth trend, which is what you see right here, or the support level, which it seems to respect very strongly all the way back until mid-January, which actually played as resistance. So I think it's going to be continued support, and actually will initiate what you call a triple bottom, where it goes up, comes down, or it goes up, comes down, goes up again, comes down, goes up, comes down, and bounces stronger to the upside and breaks through all of these resistance levels due to the momentum of that occurring. Just something that could possibly happen. Not saying that it's going to. Anyways, you could actually re-enter into the trade with those 40% gains that you've acquired in the time of the trade at the bottom at the 329. Now you have free shares of it. You can let it go forever. Just a scenario. Things to think about. Different ways to react to different price actions. AYRO. And it looks like we've already started looking at this before. I will add it to our watch list to make sure that we don't lose it. A level that I would watch on AYRO is the 783s for the most part. It has yet to find support above it, and once it broke out strong. Yes, I give it that. But as soon as it retapped that level, it just broke down and it became resistance again. And so you might have what you call a triple top, or head and shoulders almost, but more so a triple top, where it might break down again. You could find a potential entry back into this either around the 590 or the 496. So you have a dollar range to buy it in. Definitely look for that buy zone. And I'm going to show you, or if you guys don't have any more stocks, I'm going to get to my point of what I wanted to share with you guys today, okay? And I've kind of been with you guys that are premium members and even some of the free members that have been participating in our small account challenge, which I didn't get to finish that explanation. We're doing a small account challenge where everybody is participating in option calls on the markets. We started off with like $200. We had a good first week, weird second week. This week being that weird week, we didn't understand what was going on a little bit, but I think I figured out why, and I'm going to get into that. So you're more than welcome to join us if you want to. You can join the Discord. I'll go ahead and drop a link in here. I should have did it earlier while we still had everybody on here on the live stream, which I get carried away and forget to do things like that. If anybody wants to help me with sharing these links moving forward, that'd be great. Anyways, so we've been basically looking at the markets and trying to understand why the markets will pull back, but the stocks that we're in don't recover the same way that the markets do. And I want to explain something to you if you're new here and you haven't been paying attention. Um, so I'm going to look at the SPY for the most part, okay? And we'll go from there with it. So I shared this on pretty much all the channels that I'm on: Facebook, Discords, group chats. There's something that I've been watching for some time. That being this, the SPY, and how its price actions have been really just blowing my mind. But let me see if I even have the trend lines built out already. I don't know if I do or not. Longer term downtrend, nope. Expected bounce, nope. I got a lot of drawings in here. I'm constantly evaluating this thing. So this is what I want to show you though. For the most part, this is what you can call, oh wow, my trend line's weird, been weird. Should have extended already. Let me extend it real quick. Give me just a second, I'll get to my point. Extend left, extend right. Alright, I'm gonna turn it green, okay? I wanna show you something. Let me show you something. Boom. Alright. This is what I like to identify, for the most part, somewhere around there. This is what you can call the natural growth of our U.S. economy in relation to the stock market. Okay? I'll keep that in mind, Justin. I see you. This is how it's been trading for decades. I mean, it goes all the way back to 2012, or where did we start? 2016, not decades. Last 5 years. Okay? Let me correct myself there. And even if you were to account for any dips, for the most part, we have ended back up in that growth trend. All right. And the peak should have been right here. Now, I want to get rid of this one because I'm not really going to pay attention to it. This is what I'm focused on. We saw a dip in 2019. We came back into the trend and we still respected it all the way up until COVID occurred. Now, these blue lines are the stock market during COVID, after COVID occurred. And we blew past our traditional growth rate in the markets, okay? Now, I expect us to make our way back to this growth trend, which would put the SPY roughly around 370s or so, okay? And continue trading. Potentially, I've been saying 363 is my comfort level, but that's because it's growing. So 353 to 363. And this is a few months out too, by the way. So we're looking at April now, no lower than 350. May no lower than or around July no lower than 355. So there's something that stood out to me that I've been sharing with everybody, and that's the DXY. When the dollar goes down, stocks go up. When the dollar comes up, stocks come down. It's the rule of thumb. Except for, I mean, it shows for consumer spending, sure, and stuff like that. But for the most part, what I'm trying to point out is, what we're looking at right now is after COVID occurred, this is what happened to the dollar. It spiked up to about $102. It's where it kind of, near $102. And since then, it slowly has made its way down. Especially after doing all of these stimulus packages, you saw these strong drops. That was the November stimulus package. It really didn't have an effect off of the February stimulus package that was passed, or the March one, whichever, the last one, the third one. But what the dollar has done, due to inflation picking back up now, is it has broken that long-term trend. And so what will be happening is that it's going to continue to move back up, and I want to see if it hits around the 95.80s to $96 dollar range on the index. And if it does, then what we could do is potentially add in the SPY real quick to see how it correlates. So let's do a ruler real quick, and we'll just using this week now, and we were to go up to those levels right there, right? And we're to take that. Oh no, go back. Let me see how I'm gonna do this. Let's just do a line. Make it simple. No, then it's gonna do that. Let me see how I can do this. How can I do this to get my point across? Waiting for it to load. Alright. Bring the SPY back in. And how they correlate. And we can even come down on the lower time frames for a second. No, I need to come out on the daily. Alright. If we head back up to those, like I said, 95, 98, and 95.80s, right? That brings the SPY back to 365. What do you think the potential for a choppy sideways market to get back into the norm? Based on how hard the dollar is jumping, how quick it's moving up versus how long it took to come down to these levels, I think it's going to be quicker. So if you look at where I'm sitting right now, is there a way to combine the NTOS? Let me look. Let me look at that. But if you look at the right side of the screen where the price levels are, and we hit the 95.84s, that puts the SPY at 365, which is almost that 10% correction that people have been talking about. I don't think it's going to be instant, but it's going to correlate over time, and it's going to correct. And so that will reset the markets where they're currently at, and a lot of stocks that you're in right now are going to be a lot cheaper. About 10 to 20% lower. Okay? So what I'm trying to let you know is right now is a very key time to study your stocks that you're in and you want to hold long term. And make sure you're ready for when this occurs. I'm not holding anything long term right now because I know I can buy it cheaper. I don't want to price average down because I'm still losing money on the way down if I were to buy something today and hold it until, this finishes, and then I price average down from there and make the money on the, like, you're gonna have to double up you would almost have to triple or quadruple your price average, and your shares to bring it down to these levels. Or you could just get out of it right now and have that money sitting to the sideline ready for when this occurs and we do correct. Because one thing you're seeing is, like, when the stock markets come down and when the indexes or the futures come down, you don't see your stocks recover the same way, is what I'm trying to say. So I'm not holding anything long term for that matter. And what I'm doing is I'm shorting the markets on the way down until this happens. Like I said, the dollar jumped roughly 13 cents, and I made $752 off of 8 puts. If I do that every day for a month, it's about $14K in a month. How quick this is going to happen, like I said, I don't know. But if you want to sit here and try to speculate on that, us reaching those price levels, this is the current growth trend. And for us to hit those levels, it puts it about mid-May. And that's what I'm watching. And where it ends is the question. So, for the most part, I think we're going to have a rocky road moving forward. even if you go a little bit more in depth with it, we're looking at potentially the 376s. But like I said, 365 was where I was looking at it. 368 is what I've been saying. So about $10 off of that. But you can zoom in here a little bit more and kind of get some more precision to the price points. 383s is actually right above the growth trend. I can open up a new chart and we can compare that. The top of the growth trend currently sits around 368, 383 and 384 for the most part. So we would at least be back to that growth trend, or I think it does. Let me look. Let me make sure I'm saying this correctly. Waiting for this to load, of course. And Chad, what I'll do is I'll look on TOS here in a minute and see how you can compare symbols together. But I believe there's a way. Alright, let's look at the SPY. What time is it? 11:14. Probably spend a few more minutes. Let's make that money on the way down. Right. And so all I'm trying to say is, and that's what the small account challenge is about, is learning how to utilize options and trade in the markets so that you can catch money on the swings up and down, not just all the way down. The markets are going to bounce back up on the way. I'm not going to say it's going to be a straight drop. But we can make money both ways along the way down. And that's what we're trying to accomplish here. A lot of people are starting to like branch off on their own and do it on their own, make their own decisions, and that's what I really want to see. And like I'll tell you, even in that, like, you don't necessarily have to follow me all the way through the end of my trades, because by the time this happens, I'm trying to turn this small account challenge that I've done personally from $200 to $25K by the end of May. It's my target, if not sooner, because of the things that I've identified in the past few weeks and the tools I already have set up. So let's see, go on the weekly, and it doesn't save my growth trend for some reason. I'll get the indicators out of here and we'll focus on the chart a little bit more. My indicators, not my drawings. My drawings, there we go. All right, cool. So what I was looking at was this to here, and then clone, and basically where it respects that. And if you look at time, we're right at the 380s for that matter. So I was right, about 376. If it were to happen this week, it'd be 376. And as we go forward, it'll be lower. But if you notice, the SPY is really topping out around these 398s. And if we were to look at it from that manner, let me see, let me go on the daily now. This is kind of what I've been working on, trying to identify. Let go of it. And please note, I'm not trying to do this to cause fear. I'm trying to just make sure awareness is there. So looks like by June we should be back below 383. And for the most part, it's like we're actually building a two-headed head and shoulders, if you want to say that. But I expect the SPY to probably hit all-time highs. I'm just saying, there's this large gray zone right here to fill, and this backfill to fill for the most part. That has not been done. So I expect it to come down, and we're going to ride the wave down, and for the most part we can expect something like this. Now, just us looking at this going into this week, look at that, boom. For the most part, to stay true to that. So I'm going to turn that one, I'll turn it yellow, I'll turn it orange. So this week, I'm going to be shorting the SPY for the most part all the way back down to the 385, which gives me about a $10 range that I can trade on, which gives me about $500 that I can make off of it going into this week. And that's all the way until probably April 1st. Now, how it reacts to this is what I really want to see. Is once we get into this diamond compression zone now that we're forming here. Let me move that out of the way. You see this diamond right here? I want to see how we react to it. So that's A, B, C, A, B, C. Down is what I'm expecting. Um, and we start to make our way down to probably the 377s and bounce off of it. So that would be, let's see, A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C. Maybe we break out, bounce off of the top trend until we hit all-time highs, and then A, B, C, and make our way down. So that's what I'm looking for. I just wanted to share that with you guys. Be careful in what you're trying to hold. A lot of people I'm seeing are complaining because they're losing money on a daily basis, and not understanding why when the markets are going green, their stocks aren't recovering from where they're buying them. You're buying them very expensive. That's why. And a lot of them are over evaluated based on this herd mentality that stocks only go up. And these pump and dumps are really offsetting some of these stocks if they don't reset back to where they started, especially. So I just wanted to share that with you guys on this morning's Coffee and Stocks. It's about 11, I don't know what time it is. Let me see, 11:19. Anybody got any questions, any stocks they want to look at before we call it a day? And I get to my weekend. I'll give you a second. Be sure to join our Discord. We're constantly talking about opportunities. We're always on voice calls. We're pretty active with each other, pinging ideas off of each other. I am not one to not listen to any suggestions, so feel free to join us there if you haven't already. I know Justin and Shad are in there already. I think Steve's in there. I'm just going down the chat. We got Reg, he's in there. Roby, feel free to join us. And whoever else is still just on the chat right now. I'm just south of St. Louis. Right, you making money? We don't let you buy stocks. But I'm just waiting for you guys to hit me up in the chat. Is there anything you want to look at before we hop off for the day session? Oh wow. Webull is having a paper trading competition. That's cool. I wonder if we can set up one here. That'd be fun. I think it would require everyone to have like TOS or something. All right. For the most part, it seems like you guys don't have anything else to watch. So if you have any questions, you know how to reach me. Facebook chat, Facebook personally, Discord. I'd much prefer to move everything to Discord though. So if you can direct message me there moving forward, that'd be great. But then again, like I get slaughtered with like all of these promos to other Discords and stuff like that. So I guess keeping the DMs direct on Facebook is fine, and then the community chats are already set up on Discord. So other than that, man, I hope y'all have a great weekend. Thank you for joining us for this morning's Coffee and Stock Sessions. Like I said, simply ask that you like and share the video. Yep, that's exactly what I'm about to do, is go spend some time with the fam, man. I hope y'all do the same and enjoy your weekend. I'll be talking to you guys first thing Monday. Look for our Coffee and Stock Sessions at 7 a.m., about 7:15, 7:30 most of the time. Central time, that is. And we'll